Welcome, curious mind, to the deep dive. Today we are opening the file on a secretive, highly unusual organization, one founded on, well, intellectual brilliance and unwavering ethics, the Mysterious Benedict Society.
We are, yeah. We're looking at a whole stack of source material that details not just this incredible adventure, but a complete blueprint for how intellect, resourcefulness, and a strong moral compass are tested against a threat that it's global, deeply hidden, and fundamentally psychological.
The mission is basically to save the world.
To save the world from an invisible enemy trying to steal our minds.
Yeah. And to really get the stakes here, you have to start with the recruitment process, because it's so strange. It wasn't designed to find kids with high IQs, not just that.
No. It was about high EQs and this sort of innate resistance to conformity.
We begin with a boy named Reynie Muldoon. He's preparing for this mysterious test in a place called Stonetown.
And the initial instructions were the first test. Seems so simple. Report to the monk building.
Right.
Bring nothing but a single pencil and a single rubber eraser.
And that's it.
That's it. And it sounds trivial, but the sources really emphasize this. You had to adhere to it meticulously. You bring 2 pencils, you forget the erasure.
You're out.
You're instantly disqualified.
It's fascinating because it immediately signals what Mr. Benedict was looking for. It's not just raw genius, it's the capacity for methodical thought, for extreme attention to detail, even when the details seem totally arbitrary.
And Reynie followed it. He followed the rule to the letter, which set him apart before he even answered a single question.
Okay, so he gets in the door, and the screening process he goes through, it was brilliant. I mean, it had nothing to do with any test I ever took in school.
Oh, not at all. It was an intellectual gauntlet, really.
Yeah.
Designed to filter out the brilliant kids who just follow rules, the conformists, and isolate the truly original, resourceful thinkers.
And the journey began with these psychological questions that were just completely unexpected.
Right. It didn't feel like schoolwork. It felt like someone was, listening in on your internal dialogue.
Like the question, do you like to listen to the radio?
Exactly. And Reynie, he instinctively answers no. And he feels bad about it. He feels isolated, thinking, oh, everyone loves the radio. What's wrong with me?
But that no was a huge flag for the examiners.
A critical flag. It showed that his mind had this subconscious rejection of the very thing carrying the thread. He was already avoiding the influence just because he was a deep thinker who didn't like noise.
And then the questions shift. They go from psychology to just pure, relentless logic.
Yeah, get this one. What is wrong with this statement? It's a question.
Most kids would just stare at that. I would stare at that.
We're trying to find a factual error, right?
Yeah.
But Reynie, he immediately saw the structural flaw.
He says,
it isn't a statement at all.
Yeah.
It's a question, which demonstrates a mind that's focused on literal truth, on structural integrity. He just can't let that kind of linguistic trick pass.
They weren't testing grammar.
No. They were testing his capacity to focus on foundational truth.
The environment itself was already stressful, but it just escalates dramatically in the second phase at the monk building.
Oh, yeah. The source material paints a picture of just pure intellectual terror. The kids in that room, they're described as weeping, or turning this subtle, sickly shade of green when they see the exam.
A test was actively causing emotional breakdown.
And that panic was justified. Because the questions were impossible. They were designed to create maximum cognitive stress. We're talking about academic esoterica, the origin of the common fetch.
Who knows that?
Nobody. Details about subatomic particles like fermions, the work of Satyendranath Bose, and then demanding to know which specific church emperor Justinian built.
It's a genius move, though, because a test that's too hard for everyone, it normalizes failure.
Right.
It removes that expectation of being correct, and that's what exposes the next and really the most crucial layer of the whole thing.
The ethical challenge.
The ethical challenge.
That's right. Reynie is struggling. He's feeling this immense pressure, of the orphanage waiting for him if he fails. And then Rhonda Kazembe, this green-haired girl who sort of carries her own personal fog bank, she walks past his desk.
And she just casually lets a piece of paper drift down onto his desk.
And on it are all the answers.
Yeah.
Every single correct, impossible answer. This is the moment of high moral jeopardy.
And the proctor, the pencil woman?
She's completely distracted. She's trying to get the last pickle out of a tall jar. I mean, the opportunity is perfect.
So he was really tempted then.
The temptation was immense, and the sources say he absolutely considered it. He needed this escape. But instead of just grabbing the answers, his mind, which is already trained to look for patterns, felt this this nagging sense of familiarity.
So he paused.
He paused. He rejected the easy fix. And that pause, that rejection of the ethical shortcut, that's what led to the aha moment that got him in.
He stopped seeing it as a test.
And started seeing it as a puzzle box. He flips back to the start.
And the first question was?
The territories of the Naxivon Autonomous Republic and the Nagorno-Karabakh region are disputed by what, 2 countries? Impossible.
Right.
But then he realizes the answer, Armenia and Azerbaijan, is just hidden, word for word, in the text of question 21.
You just had to read the prompt.
It's a beautiful meta test. You had to have the brains to see it was impossible.
The moral strength to say no to cheating.
And then the lateral thinking to realize the test was talking to itself. It was never about the veg. It was about noticing the system.
And only 4 children managed to solve this multi-layered gauntlet. And they weren't just picked for being smart. They were picked for how their specific contrasting skills created a perfectly balanced team.
So first you have Reynie Muldoon. We've established him. He's the ethical center, the solver. He's great at deduction, reading people. He's the strategist.
Then you have George Sticky Washington. And Sticky was. He was nervous, very touchy about his name.
He felt it tied him too close to this historical figure.
Exactly, but his memory was just breathtaking. The sources say he could read and perfectly recall half of a thick book on tropical plants in a few minutes.
Wow.
He's the team's information archive, their hard drive. Okay, next up is Kate Wetherall. She's described as broad-shouldered, 12 years old, a very physical presence, but her mind is pure resourceful engineering.
And her signature item is their fire engine red bucket.
You have to talk about the bucket.
We have to spend time on the bucket because it defines her. Inside, she has a Swiss Army knife, rope, a flashlight, fishing twine, glue, and a pen light. These are not random. They are tools for immediate, practical problem solving.
And the sources have this perfect little story that shows her ingenuity. She sees Rhonda, the proctor, drop a pencil down a storm drain.
Most people would just say, oh, well, but not Kate. She immediately uses the screwdriver on her knife to pry open the grate, ties her rope to a bench for an anchor,
Holds the pen light in her mouth for a light.
and then, this is the brilliant part, she puts glue on the fishing twine to snag the pencil from this tight 10.5-inch deep crack.
That's not just problem solving. That's
Right.
3-dimensional, on-the-spot resource allocation with minimal resources. She is the team's logistical master, their escape artist.
And finally, the indispensable wild card, Constance Contraire.
Constance.
She was the youngest. We later find out she's nearly 3, which explains her extreme irritability, her constant need for sleep, and her just sheer anti-authoritarian streak.
When she was told to bring 1 pencil.
She brought 37. Her contribution isn't about intellect. It's about pure, stubborn resistance to suggestion.
And once they're all together, it's Reynie who figures out the final piece that binds them. It's not just their skills.
No. He looks at the 4 of them, and he realizes their unifying factor. He says, we're all alone. They were orphans, runaways, or otherwise abandoned.
So Mr. Benedict wasn't just recruiting genius.
He was recruiting children with no pre-existing system, no family, to question or prevent them from going on this highly dangerous mission.
That deep foundational loneliness really sets the stage for the trust they immediately put in Mr. Benedict. He's eccentric, but he's offering them purpose and connection.
Absolutely. So let's meet him, the orchestrator of this whole thing.
Mr. Benedict himself is a delightful contradiction. He wears this striking green plaid suit, has bright green eyes, but he has a debilitating medical condition.
Cataplexy. He can instantly fall asleep mid-sentence if he laughs too hard or feels any intense emotion.
And that detail is crucial, isn't it? It's a physical manifestation of a loss of control, which is a parallel to the villain's own deep hidden fear that we'll get into later.
It is. And his staff is designed to compensate for this. Rhonda Kazembe, the pencil woman, she's always there, ready to catch his glasses or cushion his fall.
And then there's number 2.
The incomparable number 2. She's perpetually nervous and irritable. She's driven by this constant, insatiable hunger because she never sleeps.
She doesn't sleep.
Never. She exists on sheer willpower and snacks, balancing Benedict's often paralyzed genius with relentless, round-the-clock vigilance.
So once the introductions are done, Benedict drops the bomb. The global threat is being engineered by his long-lost, estranged twin brother.
Drop the curtain. Founder of the Learning Institute for the Very Enlightened. Which, as Reynie later figures out, spells EVIL backward.
So curtain. He's this terrifying mix of technological prowess and just malignant philosophy.
His whole power base comes from his invention of tidal turbines. They generate way more energy than he needs. Enough, the sources say, to run 100 institutes.
But the excess power isn't for efficiency.
No, it's for transmission. He's using it to broadcast what he calls hidden messages. And these messages are piggybacking on invisible signals we're all exposed to every day.
TV, radio, cell phones.
Exactly. The sources suggest he's exploiting these subtle gaps or unused bandwidth in existing broadcasts. He's basically planting subliminal triggers in the noise of modern life.
And this is the core psychological insight that makes this threat so unique. The messages are basically undetectable by the conscious adult mind.
Right. Adults hear them, they feel them, but they just dismiss the discomfort as a headache. Or they just believe the resulting thought is an original idea of their own.
Look, children are different.
Mr. Benedict explains that children act as a necessary filter. An adult's mind, it's been conditioned by years of conformity, so it tends to accept a new, complex thought when it lumbers into the mind like an elephant,
But a child's mind is still supple.
allowing the messages to creep in on cat feet. They are just more sensitive to the invasion.
Which explains why our kids, like Reynie, they inherently dislike television and radio.
Their minds, so unwilling to be deceived, are subconsciously avoiding exposure. They have this innate critical skepticism that most adults have been culturally scrubbed of.
The purpose of L.I.V.E. then becomes terrifyingly clear. It's a brainwashing camp disguised as an elite school.
And it favors orphans and runaways because they're less likely to be missed. The Institute will admit any child, whether they wish to go or not. It's coercive recruitment for a mind-controlled army.
And the whole thing is shielded by this global defense mechanism, a phrase that's constantly, subtly implanted in people's minds.
Dare not defy the Institute. It's a subconscious trigger that prevents authorities, families, anyone from interfering or even believing Mr. Benedict's warnings. It also accounts for all the missing government agents. The hidden messages just claim, the missing aren't missing. They're only departed.
So the global mind has been conditioned to just accept their disappearance.
The Institute has created its own psychological immunity.
To really grasp the power of Curtin's technology, we need to talk about one specific person, Milligan.
The sad, silent, weather-beaten bodyguard. His story is the ultimate proof of the Institute's cruelty.
He was captured years ago.
And subjected to the full force of their memory-wiping tech. He was blindfolded, restrained in a hard metal chair, and when he escaped, he had total memory loss. He couldn't remember anything about his past except the name Milligan.
The description of his condition is just harrowing. His captors had clipped or bitten his fingernails and toenails severely, a sign of just prolonged confinement and abuse.
And this is a profound point about memory. Despite having zero conscious memory, his fingers were moving instinctively.
So his declarative memory, who he was gone.
Erased. But his procedural memory, his ingrained skills, they were still there, and his fingers were found to have fashioned a tiny, precise lock-picking device.
Out of his own clipped nails and toenails.
It's unbelievable. He used a fragment of his own body to regain his freedom. Without any conscious thought, he escaped, cuffed his captors' ankles together, snapped the cuffs to their wrists, an extremely skilled move, and then he dove into the harbor.
A harbor that was notoriously rocky.
And he was a phenomenally strong swimmer who knew the terrible geography of those rocks. His escape route was fatal for anyone foolish enough to follow him by boat. Milligan's existence. A ghost of a man with one name and an instinct for escape. That is the clearest illustration of the high existential cost of memory theft.
With the danger established by Milligan's tragedy, the 4 kids accept the mission. They have to enroll in the Institute.
Become excellent students and quickly rise up to gain special privileges, only granted to the top students, the messengers.
Their mission: find out what the thing to come is, and report every curious tidbit back to Mr. Benedict.
So they approach the fortress, Nomansan Island, reachable only by this long, narrow bridge. The buildings are deceptive. They just blend into the stony crags. It feels less like a school, more like a high-security compound.
And Reynie, ever the observer, makes that deduction we mentioned. L-I-V-E spelled backward is E-V-I-L. The name isn't just ironic, it's an admission.
And their escorts are the executives. Jackson, described as a red-headed crocodile, and Jilson. They're intimidating, and they wear these huge silver shock watches.
Which is an immediate sign of the hierarchy and the painful control inside the Institute.
The whole environment inside is one of controlled deprivation. The dorm rooms are clean, orderly, but they conspicuously lack bookshelves.
And a learning institute.
Exactly. The absence of books signals that learning here is not about independent thought. It's about controlled, imposed information.
It's also worth noting the defenses. Mr. Benedict's headquarters uses an identical maze as its only entrance.
Right, which shows that Curtin and Benedict, despite being on opposite sides, share this structural genius. The Institute is similarly defended. It's not just designed to keep people out, but to keep children in.
The mission immediately hits an ethical snag. To become messengers, they have to ace these nonsensical quizzes.
And Kate and Constance, who rely on ingenuity and instinct, not rote memorization, they are struggling. Desperately.
So Reynie, remembering the lesson from his own test where he resisted cheating, he's hesitant. This is a moment of deep ethical reckoning for them.
They're good kids being forced into a situation that requires moral compromise.
So he decides to put the burden on the commander. He sends a Morse code message to Mr. Benedict's team. Please advise about cheating.
He's asking for permission to sin, essentially, for the greater good.
And the response transmitted back is just legendary in its ambiguity.
Do not get caught.
Wow, that's a huge moment. That's Mr. Benedict sanctioning necessary evil.
It confirms that in the face of absolute tyranny, the means, however dirty, have to serve the end. He's not teaching them to be immoral. He's teaching them pragmatic espionage.
So they immediately put their genius to work, not learning, but learning how to deceive the system.
They spent 2 full hours practicing cheating strategies, using Sticky's memory, Kate's resourcefulness, to earn without learning.
And it works. Sticky and Reynie achieve messenger status. They get access to the inner sanctum, the Whispering Gallery.
The gallery is behind the highest window of the tower, and the machine at its heart is the Whisperer. It's described as looking almost medieval, an oversized metal armchair with 2 helmets, one blue, one red.
Like an old-fashioned beauty salon hairdryer?
Exactly. No modern digital interfaces.
Yeah.
And Curtin explains its function. It loads thought packages directly into the mind.
This is more than just subliminal messaging. It's like psychic data transfer.
It is. He demonstrates with the trigger phrase, poison apples, poison worms, which immediately conjures an entire class lecture in their minds.
So how does that work? How does a phrase become a lecture?
The sources suggest the Whisperer acts as a compressor and decompressor for ideas. The phrase isn't the lecture itself. It's the specific neural key that unlocks a preloaded, detailed information file that Curtin has engineered.
It's a terrifying shortcut past critical thinking.
You're not processing information, you're just receiving a ready-made conclusion, which is why it's so mentally draining. Curtin has to alternate messengers frequently to stop their minds from fracturing under the cognitive strain.
And the true horror of it all is revealed when Reynie runs into one of the helpers.
He sees a man, Harry Harrison, who has the unmistakable face, shape, and froggy voice of Mr. Rutger, his unpleasant tutor from the orphanage.
A devastating moment. He realizes the Institute doesn't just hire people, it creates them by erasing who they were.
And Harry Harrison denies his identity. He's miserably sorry for confusing Reynie. And that confirms the link between Milligan, the missing agents, and these miserable, identity-stolen helpers.
And the memory theft is systematic.
The executives use simpler tools called sweepers, like metal brooms, for localized memory erasure. But the Whisperer performs the full, devastating identity wipe.
And the boys realize there are different grades of trauma. Full erasure, which creates someone like Harry Harrison, leads to this chronic mournfulness we see in the helpers and Milligan. They know something is missing, but not what.
But the simpler sweepers cause lock-in-our amnesia, losing specific events. That causes confusion, but not that deep, enduring sadness. It's just meticulous cruelty.
The mission is now urgent. They have to find out what the thing to come is before Curtin launches his final plan.
So Kate, Sticky, and Reynie, they risk everything. They sneak into Curtin's private office, and they find his planned press releases and his personal journal.
And in those documents, they discover his terrifying philosophy. He calls his whole global plan the improvement.
And the philosophical core of his plan is the conviction that fear is the single most important element of human personality.
That's a critical insight into his mind. Why fear?
Because fear drives people to be irrational, to make mistakes, to refuse peace. Curtin believes that by eliminating fear through absolute control, he can force the world into a state of contented, if unconscious, peace.
His method is chillingly direct. He plans to create a manufactured global emergency.
He'll exploit the panic to convince world governments to reorganize and declare him MASTER Minister and Secretary of all the Earth's regions,
The self-appointed dictator.
under the guise of global salvation. And the emergency itself, He'll announce a worldwide epidemic, sudden amnesia disease, or SAD. The first symptom is hearing children's voices, the boosted hidden messages.
All the cessate cases are to be admitted to amnesia sanctuaries. And the final, targeted cruelty. The truth lovers, people like the members of the society, they'll receive special attention.
They'll be erased first.
This escalation of the broadcast immediately affects the team. They start getting intense mood swings, anger.
And this is where Constance Contraire becomes indispensable.
Her unique mind.
Being so young, her mind is so sensitive, she starts to hear the actual voices, the raw signals, not just the triggers. She becomes their early warning system, their canary in the coal mine.
Her extreme crankiness is physical proof the threat is imminent.
Then Milligan is captured. He heroically tried to retrieve Reynie's message from a culvert, but he's found, captured, and forced to eat the paper evidence.
The team knows they have to act immediately. The mission shifts from intelligence gathering to a desperate final stand.
They use their messenger status for the attack. Kate, the resourceful chemist, uses a patch of poisonous wild licorice on the food of the other messengers,
They all get violently ill.
which forces Sticky and Reynie to be called in early for their climactic session in the Whispering Gallery.
And during their earlier snooping, they spotted Curtin's critical weakness. It links back to Benedict's cataplexy.
Exactly. Benedict falls asleep when he laughs. Curtin is terrified of losing control. And they realize he has to be fully strapped into the Whisperer chair during high-power sessions to prevent him from losing conscious control over the machine.
His need for control is absolute, and it's his Achilles heel.
So the final confrontation arrives. Sticky, knowing the stakes, goes first. He's terrified, but he is remarkably heroic. He uses his memory and sheer will to resist the thought packages, stalling for time.
His loyalty to his friends acts as a psychic shield.
An absolute psychic shield. While Sticky is struggling, Reynie moves to the window and waves his hands about it. The prearranged signal for Kate.
Kate and Constance have already infiltrated the tower.
Using the storm culvert and climbing the elevator shaft. Reynie confronts Curtin, thinking fast. If laughter beats Benedict, what beats Curtin? Loss of control. The situation is dire, which forces Constance into the defining moment of the mission.
She throws herself onto the red helmet, the transmuting helmet.
Effectively absorbing the full, raw power of the brain sweeping. She is their ultimate weapon of stubborn, irreducible will.
Curtin is forced to redirect all the Whisperer's energy onto her tiny mind. He's trembling with effort.
And Constance, despite the pain, she just screams the ultimate rejection of his philosophy. I don't care.
That moment of distraction, it's all Reynie needs. He executes the final brilliant trick based on Curtin's secret pride.
He'd guessed from Curtin's flashes of rage that his obsession with control and his heritage were linked. He needed a code word.
He yells the request, and Sticky, the memory vault,
Instantly provides the detail. The Dutch word for control is Control-E.
Reynie tells Kate to try that code. She taps the E key.
And it works. The code activates a hidden exit and delivers a massive feedback loop, rendering Curtin completely unconscious, in a deep, peaceful sleep, the very opposite of his paranoid vigilance.
The hidden door slides open, and the emotional climax unfolds. Milligan appears, covered in mud. During his escape, his full memory had suddenly returned.
He looks at Kate, the resourceful girl with a red bucket, and he greets her with a phrase only a father could remember.
Sorry it took me so long, Katie Cat.
Milligan, the sad, amnesiac bodyguard, is revealed to be Kate's long-lost father. The mission is a success not just for the world, but for their family.
So they escaped. The kids, Milligan, Rhonda, number 2, they flee in a flat-bottomed boat.
And Milligan, with his full memory and skills back, navigates that rocky channel perfectly. He'd been secretly mapping its depths during night swims for years. Curtin escapes with some recruiters, but the Institute is neutralized.
The mission is a success because they have physical evidence. Milligan's memory is the ultimate proof.
That, plus Kate's stolen pamphlet and Curtin's own journal. Mr. Benedict's credibility with government officials is instantly restored.
But the work isn't done.
No, Mr. Benedict immediately begins the process of restoration. He's modifying the captured Whisperer to reverse the brain sweeping, to gently coax lost memories back. He aims to restore everyone, the helpers, the executives, all the missing agents.
And then we have the personal endings for the society, starting with Constance.
The cranky wildcard is celebrated. Her secret is revealed. She's not 11, she's 2 years and 11 months old, which explains everything. The sleep, the irritability, her raw, untamed mind.
And Mr. Benedict prepares to adopt her.
It's a beautiful realization that her greatest flaw, her refusal to conform, was actually her greatest asset.
Sticky's resolution is maybe the most emotional. Mr. Benedict reveals his parents didn't abandon him maliciously.
They were influenced by the hidden messages, believing they were better off without him. However, the messages failed to fully take hold.
Why?
The sources state that their love for Sticky was so boundless, and the financial and emotional debt they racked up during their tireless search for him, it created a psychic counter-resistance to the broadcasts. Their determination overrode the conditioning.
So Sticky is reunited with his parents.
In this joyous, uproarious celebration, it proves that genuine emotional attachment can break even the strongest psychic chains.
And finally, Reynie, who started this mission feeling desperately alone.
He receives the gift of belonging. Mr. Benedict gives him this profound wisdom on the nature of kinship.
He tells him family is often born of blood, but it doesn't depend on blood, nor is it exclusive of friendship. And Reynie finds comfort in this new family, forged in courage and loyalty.
So the entire operation hinged on two critical psychological concepts that will drop the curtain fatally underestimated. First, the grave danger of hidden thought packages, which can dismantle society by exploiting invisible signals.
And second, the triumphant, immutable power of deep emotional connection, determination, and love to resist that influence. We saw it with Sticky's parents, and with Constance's sheer will.
The mission succeeded because the villain made a philosophical error. He believed the world could be improved by removing difficult thoughts, using control and fear. He fundamentally underestimated the power of friendship and truth to resist manufactured contentment.
So we leave you with this final provocative thought based on that core conflict. Curtin genuinely believed his invention would bring peace to thousands by curing maladies of the mind. If the choice were offered, if you could be guaranteed absolute contentment and the erasure of all anxiety, how much mental freedom and how many difficult truths would you be willing to sacrifice?